Good morning. It is 9:42 a.m. on Friday, May 31st, 2019. I'm Christiana Ellis, and I just got up. This is 5 more minutes. So, every so often with my hair, I get a mind to actually brush it out when it's dry instead of trying to preserve as much as possible the tighter loopy curls. And the answer of what happens when I do that is generally it is not great for me because the ends tend to form tangles no matter how much I brush it out, because I can brush it out until there's no tangle, and then gradually over the next few minutes it'll retangle itself because it's all curly and fluffy. So it is occasionally interesting just to have my hair be in a very different form, but I don't know that I really gain anything from it other than just the abstract knowledge of, look, my hair is capable of doing this. Yeah, I don't know. I think I prefer when I can, like these videos don't frequently show me with my hair the way I actually like it to be. But yeah, I tend to like it when it's doing the hanging, thicker curls. But every so often, I do this. I think about sometimes what it would be like to have hair like mine in, a society where I did not have access to sophisticated hair product in the same way. And I mean, obviously, I think people have had curly hair a lot longer than they've had fancy conditioner. But in a lot of ways, I think, I don't know. I've only abstract wondered and not actually done any research ever. But I actually was distracted away from whatever else I might have talked about today because I saw a post from J.C. Hutchins here on Facebook talking about Jurassic Park, and specifically one instance of clever storytelling where in that movie, when they're explaining chaos theory, Dr. Ian Malcolm, played by Jeff Goldblum, takes Dr. Ellie Sattler, played by Laura Dern's, hand and drops a little drip of water down it, and is observing how the little microscopic imperfections of the skin can change the direction of the path of water. Now, in some respects, that is great movie moment, maybe not a great science moment, because in reality, once you have a water path down your hand, just surface tension is going to make it actually more likely for the water to follow that same path down. It's not really a very controlled experiment, but that's not the point. The point, as illustrated in the Facebook post that I'm talking about, is that what it sets up later is that there are cups of water in these cars. And of course, the cup of water is what gives us one of the most classic, iconic moments from that movie, which is, do you feel something? And then the ripples in the water from the dinosaur footsteps, right? How classic is that? But in the moment, we don't question, is hey, why is there a cup of water there? Because we saw them with water earlier. Not that it would have necessarily been too far a logic leap to make, but it sets it up nicely. And so the example that came to mind for me of a similar thing is from The Abyss, which is one of my favorite movies. And in that movie, early on, when we're getting introduced to the crew of this underwater oil rig, and we're just kind of getting shown the montage view of all of these guys and their larger-than-life personalities and how they kind of get on each other's nerves. They're picking on each other and playing pranks and roughhousing. And one of them, all full of bluster, is threatening the other because one of them is poured cereal down the back of the guy's shirt, and the other guy is full of bluster and he's threatening. He's going, "You see this? They call this the hammer." But later, in a surprise moment, that guy with the hammer delivers one of the most satisfying face punches in all of cinema history, in my opinion. And it's perfectly set up because we remember it's a payoff, the hammer, and it's real. It is actually that strong, and it needs to be because the guy he's punching is a badass Marine who's essentially on an adrenaline rush. So we need to justify, why is this guy going to be tough enough to punch out that guy? Well, it was set up. The hammer. They call it the hammer. It's real, and it's a payoff to what we thought was a joke. And I think that's just amazing. And, The Abyss has another example like that too, which is that Ed Harris, that character, he used to be married to the Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio character, and there's a scene early on where he's frustrated because he's been wearing the ring still, even though they're divorced. But he then throws the ring into a chemical toilet, tries to leave, and then realizes, no, he can't really leave it down there. And so he fishes it out with his hand, even though because it's this chemical toilet, the chemicals inside stain his hand blue for the rest of the movie. And some of the characters comment on that. And for him, that's this constant reminder throughout the movie that not only did he try to throw the ring away, but couldn't let it be. And they also set up that this ring is made of like titanium or something, like a really strong metal. And then later in the movie, there's a moment where a pressure hatch is closing, and he's desperate to stop it from closing. And he's like, oh no, what are you going to do? But it's closing. And then, and it closes with his ring. Just before this panel would have crushed his hand, the ring stops it and saves the day. And I love that sort of thing. I think it's very cool. So in any event, I think, having movies that you really like and thinking about, wasn't that a cool part of that movie, is not a bad mood to start the day in. So I'll leave it there, and I will talk to you all tomorrow for 5 more minutes.